We asked our Instagram followers who is the best Abzan commander, and we can now tell you the top 10 best Abzan commanders in MTG 2023 update. Just making it onto the list we had Cathal, Aspect Warper, originally printed in the 2020 Commander Precons. When Cathal ETBs, put a flying counter on any creature you control if a creature in your graveyard has flying. The same goes for another 10 different abilities. Read them all now, there's far too many to say.
Lazy.
We then put a +1/+1 counter on Cathal, for each counter put on a creature this way. We are making sure to hyper-focus in on all of those keywords. Every creature in this deck must contain some of them, and those creatures that have 2 or 3 keywords, absolute chef's kiss.
Perfection.
Once we've packed in the roughly 40 creature heavy deck, we're then going to focus in on that mill. We want to start pouring our library into our graveyard, so that when Cathal hits the field, this Icorian monster is spreading those counters everywhere and getting itself a huge +1/+1 beefy boost. A sleeper pick for a fun yet potentially powerful deck. Is this a deck you've played against much before? Let me know in the comments below.
No, I don't think I will.
Before we get on to number 9, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for all things MTG. Subscribing is completely free to do and to help our channel grow and grow as we head towards 5,000 subscribers. Another way to help support the channel is to sign up to Card Market and use our referral code gathering-the-magic when signing up. Shout out to mcultra64 for using our code. You love to see it. Moving on to number 9, we have Bishr, the Doomhive. Printed in this year's Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One commander set, this evil insect has Menace and Toxic 1. When it ETBs, create 3 1/1 Might artifact creature tokens that have Toxic 1 and cannot block. Bishr gets +1/+1 for each poison counter your opponents have. These decks go all out infect. We're leaning into that evil through a variety of creatures, sorceries, enchantments and more. The more poison we get, not only do we inch close to the win, but we make Bishr even stronger. Unlike the 21 commander damage win con, we only need 10 or more poison counters to start picking off our opponents. And to get this done in doubly quick time, we can start a proliferating party to add even more counters with our opponents not being able to do anything about it. And with our commander having those green colours, it won't take long until our opponents have 10 poison counters and most likely will never want to play against Bishr again.
Get out right now.
Next on the list we had Kefis, the Hidden Hand. Originally printed in Core Set 2020, legendary spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Exile 2 legendary cards from your graveyard. Until end of turn, each legendary card in your graveyard gains. You may play this card from your graveyard. There's only one route we can go here, and that's to focus in on those legendary cards. A card super type first officially brought to life in 1994's Legends set. There have been over 2,600 legendary cards printed in the history of Magic, so your options here are far from limited. Legendary branches out far from just creatures too, with enchantments, equipment, planeswalkers and so much more. Of course, those legendary cards are historic, so also leaning into all of those historic living cards will never go amiss. Play cards, gain advantage. If you lose some legendary cards, use Kethis to get them from your graveyard. Go crazy and get that win.
I am a legend.
In at number 7 we have Exel, Scion of Atraxa. Another originally printed in Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One's Commander Precons, this angel has Flying, Vigilance, Toxic 2, and at the beginning of your end step, each opponent who has 3 or more poison counters exiles the top card of their library face down. You may play those cards for as long as they remained exiled, spending mana of any colour to do so. Similar to Bishr, this is another commander that focuses all on that poison, so we won't be spending too long on this one. But once again, throwing in everything poison loving, so to keep things similar but different, we'll now show a bunch more poison loving cards that this angel will love. And as they're part of the same precon, anything Exel loves, we know Bishr will also love too. Now is this a case of getting lots of votes because it was one of the most recent precons, or is it better than some of the commanders that we're showing now that got votes that just missed out on the top 10? You decide. Narrowly missing out on the top half we have Kador, Ghost Chieftain. Printed in the original MTG Commander 2011 set, this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature card from your graveyard. This ghost hones in on that graveyard. The more creatures we have in there, the cheaper our already expensive commander will cost to get out. And with it being graveyard, we have many ways to go. We can mill ourselves to get those creatures there. We can have some board hate, sacrificing our own creatures whilst also making our opponents sack theirs too. or even play those pod style cards to get out even more creatures. Lastly, having a bevy of graveyard creatures is key, so having all of that common recursion in there is even more essential. Have ways to replay creatures, get our lands out of the Shadow Realm, and everything else to recur your way to victory. Next on up we have Gave, Guru of Spores. Back-to-back creatures from Commander 2011 gave ETBs with 5+1/+1 counters on it. Pay and remove a counter from a creature you control, create a sapling token. Pay and sack a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. The main strategy Gave players go is to focus in on those +1/+1 counters, and when you especially focus in on those Selesnya colours, +1/+1 counters are everywhere. We'll be getting counters added when we cast spells, counters that also create as tokens, especially saplings, and most importantly, cards that will straight up double our counters. And with big cards like the Ozolith, we want to make sure those counters will stay on the board even if our creatures don't. And lastly, as we're creating them with Gave, we can also lean into those saplings. With 84 sapling token creating cards and over 70% being in those Abzan colours, get the win and just be a fun guy.
Mushrooms!
Just missing out on that bronze medal spot, we have Thia and the Gitrog monster. Originally printed in this year's March of the Machine set, this first striking Death Touch duo says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control ETB tapped. When they attack, sack a creature or a land, then draw a card. First off, these decks are all about those lands. We want to play extra lands per turn as per Thia and Gitrog's ability and not run out of steam, which is why the average deck has at least 36 lands, but some of them having even more. When they attack, we need to sack a creature or land, so if we're short on creatures, that land may need to bite the dust, so having ways to recur our land won't go amiss. But if you enjoy the evil part of their text, lean fully into that hate bear theme, throw in ways to make spells cost even more, make it harder to attack you, and everything else to get them raging, lose their head and lose the game. For the third best commander we have Nethy, Apex of Death. From one of the GOAT sets, Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths, mutating Nethy has Death Touch, Lifelink, and whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the field. We all know where we're going here, and that's straight into some mutating madness. A genuinely underrated mechanic. With over 30 cards printed and more than half of that at your disposal, choosing those creatures for this deck selects itself. That straight up mutate doesn't end there though. With a handful of mutate loving and recursion cards, this is a deck that can get powerful and hard to stop quickly. We also want to bring all of those graveyard creatures back with Nethy, so having a little bit of mill won't hurt either. This is my favourite card from this list, and have you seen the alternate art cards Nethy has at its disposal? Absolutely unbelievable. Runner up and the second best commander, we have Sam Loyal Attendant and Frodo Adventurous Hobbit. From the Tales of Middle-earth commander set, Sam creates a food token at the beginning of your combat. Activated abilities of food you control cost 1 less to activate. Vigilant Frodo says when he attacks, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, the ring tempts you. If Frodo is your ring bearer and the ring has tempted you 2 or more times in this game, draw a card. These decks go all out life gain. We have a bunch of classic life gain cards, of course plenty too from that recent precon, which does make this a sneaky powerful precon, more so than most. We're also going to focus in on Sam and have plenty of those food. These don't just synergise well with Sam, as cracking that food gains us the life that Frodo loves. Synergy for days. 2 powerful commanders with plenty of art options. Is this another case of it's just really new and super popular? Either way, a powerful pair and one that only gives our opponents one option.
So you have chosen death.
Winner and the best Abzan commander is Merkel, Lord of Bones. Released in 2022's Commander Legends D&D set, as long as your life total is less than or equal to half of your starting life total, Merkel has Indestructible. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's an enchantment and loses all card types. Thanks to that text, having a load of cards that synergise with enchantments are key. Gain card draw, give enchantment shroud, and even more so those tokens are gaining a big advantage. Taking advantage of tokens is key too. Make sure that we make double of them, make them be able to ramp us and everything else to make our army the strongest on the board. Enchantments tend to be harder to remove than creatures, so having a variety of cards with a devilishly disgusting text will keep us at a really strong advantage, even if our creatures don't stick around. A powerful and fun commander to play, and one that is so popular because because there is just so much versatility to it, and rightfully the best Abzan commander in MTG. There we have it, that is the top 10 Abzan list. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for all things MTG. Check out our link tree down below for all of our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.